Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices. We'll never lose, and a lose, and you lose. We'll never lose, and a lose, and you lose. We'll never lose, and a lose, and you lose. Shortcuts on the field, defenders they shiver. Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80,000 voices.
Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. How are you doing? So, game week 3, day 1, full of drama, full of talking points, and people losing their minds as well. You know, Premier League had some stunning results, Spurs losing, as well as Chelsea getting a win. We'll get to that, and I admit I'll keep that to the last because, of course, a lot of talking points around that game, goals chopped off, rightly or wrongly. We'll have a discussion about that as well. And then we'll also talk about the drama around Chelsea strikers. You know, Nicolas Jackson, what's happening with him heading to Bayern? Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? And that's what the other things to talk about as well. So let's dive straight into the video. And I'll just share my screen in a minute. Let's look at the first result. I think that was Bournemouth beating Spurs. Admittedly, Spurs had had a very good start to the season. You know, 2 wins on the bounce. So you're thinking they're going into this game, they're going to defeat Bournemouth. But Bournemouth were super dominant in the game, running out one the winners. So top marks to Iraola. The job is done. You know, so Spurs back to their Spurs ways, or it's just a hiccup because teams could struggle. You know, so Chelsea struggled 2 weeks ago, the start of the season, at Crystal Palace, rather at Stamford Bridge, while Crystal Palace were at the team, were at Stamford Bridge, and then Chelsea turned things around, 2 wins on the bounce, and then, you know, Spurs, maybe this could be a blip, especially with the fact that we'll be adding Xavi Simons to the team, and maybe Ademola Lookman. So if you have Kudus, you have Xavi Simons, you have Ademola Lookman, that is a potent front, wouldn't say front three, but will add to a potent front four with Richarlison leading the line. And I think they could be really dangerous. It's really dangerous side going forward because I think that game they lacked creativity, and Xavi Simons I think will give them tons of creativity. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on that game, and then we'll proceed to the other games as well. So you could leave your comments in the chat, and let's proceed to the other games that were played that day as well. And then of course you got Everton beating Wolves, 5-goal thriller. Jack Grealish found his level, but at least is in good nick of form right now. Assist in 2 games on the bounce, and you see what Bruna said. I mean, what Ellen Haaland said. We call him Jack De Bruyne. Well, when that world, Jack Grealish would see it as, because for me, I feel that De Bruyne is a better player, but as players, athletes, I'm sure he'll be very competitive and probably would see himself being on the same level as De Bruyne. So fair play to them in that year, scoring goals as well, doing Wolves celebration, or rather mimicking the Wolves mascots in the celebration. He did that same thing for the Seagulls as well. I think he got reprimanded for his celebration against Brighton, and he's been in good nick. And could have stopped marks to David Moyes, because for me, I for one didn't really see him as someone who would be able to push Everton into, rather use this attacking threat that Everton now have in terms of the players they have with Diblin and Dyer, Grealish, you know. So I was thinking maybe it's something that we're attacking for, but so far so good. Scoring goals, lots of goals, but they're also leaking goals as well. But as long as they keep scoring more than the opponent, I'm sure Everton faithfuls wouldn't be too upset about that. I think David Moyes, maybe on the other hand, maybe thinking to himself, it's good to score all those goals, but shipping goals as well is not something that he would like all too well. But fair play to, you know, Everton really, you know, proving their doubters wrong, especially me, because I felt like these sort of signings, I don't quite think they're David Moyes sort of signings. Maybe I'm still right, but for now, it's working. So happy days for Everton fans and happy days for Jack Grealish. So let's go with the other results of the day as well. And then you got Newcastle United drawing with Leeds United at Ellen Road. The new signing, I think he was in the stadium, but he didn't get to play, obviously. Maybe he'll get to play from the next game. So I think he will do well. So that's Nick Voltamade. I think he will do very well, playing for Newcastle United. So top marks for that one. So I'm sure they can't wait to get him on the pitch. And of course, what's happening with Liverpool and Alexander Isak, for now, I can't quite place my finger on it. Whether a bid will come in, hearing some people saying they're going to put in a bid for him, £130 million. You're hearing some other people as well saying there's no thought of putting a bid in, but maybe it's sort of media gymnastics that Liverpool are trying to do. So they don't want anybody coming to, upstage them, and they don't also want Newcastle United to sort of increase the demand for Isak. So, but overall, I think what will be fair play for everyone is if Isak gets to leave, because the way Nico Voltamade plays, I think he will kind of take up the space for Isak anyways. If Isak stays, he will take up that space, and then it will be a bit dicey for you, or rather very messy, to have Isak on the bench. To have Isak on the bench or have Nick Voltamade that you just signed, to have either of them on the bench, I think will create a toxic environment that you don't want. So at this point, I just think it will serve both Liverpool and Newcastle United well to just let Alexander Isak go. And then you've already got Nick Voltamade in the building. I hear they want to get a second striker, looking to bid for a second striker. Let's see how that shapes up. Maybe you go for a Rafael Dorishimi, or you go for maybe a cheap striker from Brazil, and you add that to your team, and then you look good to go. But I just think having Isak in and around the team right now is just madness. I know some Newcastle United fans are going on about, oh, let's keep him, let him rot. Let him rot doesn't serve anybody else apart from your ego. Oh yeah, we didn't let him make his move, but you're paying someone to do no work, to just sit down on the bench and not get paid. And I think the way it is at Sweden right now, I think that if no one really, okay, you have Gyökeres, yes, but going into a World Cup, you would want to have at least a backup striker, if not a striker that starts with Gyökeres. So I don't see how, even if he doesn't play for Newcastle United come January, why Sweden wouldn't still want him to come along with them to the World Cup, even if he doesn't play to the end of the season. That's the way I see it, except there's some Swedish gem somewhere that is good enough to take his spot. And you lose all that money, and for what exactly? So let him go, use the money and invest in the team overall. So let's see what Newcastle United do on that one. But a drab draw, they're definitely missing a striker. And Leeds United, I think they need to get a win under their belt. And Daniel Farker, well, at least he didn't ship in goals yesterday. So fair play in that regard, because his teams usually, when they don't score goals, they end up shipping in goals. So, and then Garnacho was announced yesterday by Chelsea, so he's now a Chelsea player. So fair play on that one. He's not a player that I really rate that highly, but he's joined the team, he's joined the club. I'll support him. Let's see how he shapes up. And I think Jamie Gittins has left the door open for Garnacho, because he hasn't really, lit up that left wing. He's had opportunities pre-season, no way. Had opportunities in 3 games now in the Premier League, not really done anything to sort of spark up the pitch. So that just leaves the door open for Garnacho, and I'm sure Garnacho will be confident that he can compete for his spot. So while I don't rate him that highly, as highly certainly as a lot of people rate him, but let's see what he will do. He can come in and prove himself wrong, and prove naysayers like me wrong. So let's see how he shapes up with Garnacho, Chelsea player. So Chelsea fans, what do you think about Garnacho's move to Chelsea? Good one, bad one? Thoughts and opinions on that one in the chats, let me know. And then going on to, I think, the Newcastle game ended in a draw, and then Manchester United managed to win 3-2 over Burnley. Hartford win. The goal that was given for offside was an odd one to me, in my opinion. If I'm being 100%, I think it really felt odd to me because the automated offside system, whatever the name they choose to call it, it sort of showed the Burnley striker, the Burnley forward in line with the Manchester United defender. So I don't know how that was deemed to be offside, but it got chopped off. But from a Manchester United fans' perspective, I'm sure they'll be saying, "Oh, you created lots of chances, so you should be winning the game." But then again, they also left themselves pretty open because that could have also been a legitimate equalizer. But technology came in, and we'll hear a lot more about technology as we continue to go on the show. So if you're new, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well, and let me know what you think about these various topics that we are talking about today. Yeah, we're talking about Nicolas Jackson and all that Chelsea drama, as well as going through game week 3. They won the results so far, and we'll also give some predictions for the Arsenal-Liverpool game. But let's continue to go on. So Bruno Fernandes got his goal, fair play to him, but I still think Manchester United are light in midfield. Now, Ruben Amorim, he's sticking to his guns. He says he when he was a player, he played 4-4-2, 4-3-3. He never played 3-4-3. Whatever reason that this is the formation he wants to play, and he's going to stick to it. But I still remain insistent on the fact that this Manchester midfield, the link is in the chat. If you want to join, just click the link and then we'll have a discussion face to face. But so he's saying he wants to stick with his 3-4-3 formation, like every other young manager. They're not flexible. Maresca, Amorim, so most of them are not flexible. They stick to their guns. Fair play. So they live and die by, the sword, so to speak. So he says he wants to stick to that formation. I feel their midfield is light when it comes to people that can actually play that two-man midfield. Because you come up against the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, definitely you're going to get destroyed, Manchester United fans, for sure. Because Casemiro isn't stopping anyone in that midfield. Bruno Fernandes isn't stopping anyone in that midfield. I say time and time again, and it feels like it's Manchester United hate. I do not like Manchester United. That's not new. But I can be fair and objective about football, about any football team. Their midfield is lacking. Casemiro won't cut it. Definitely he won't. Bruno Fernandes, good on the ball, but he won't cut it. When it comes to going two-way, playing those two central midfield roles in a two-man midfield, he's going to struggle, man. He will struggle. But anyways, I'm sure Manchester United fans don't care about that much after yesterday. At least they've got 3 points on the board that they can hopefully build, for their sake, build on, boost the confidence of the players, boost belief in the system, and they can improve, hopefully, for their own sake. But I just think the team is still not good enough, in my opinion. But who am I to speak? I'm not a Manchester United fan. I'm just a Chelsea fan and a fan that doesn't like Manchester United. But anyway, let's go on. So fair play to Manchester United. They got their 3 points on the board. So that's good for them. Let's continue. Let's go on. And then we have to talk about Sunderland. Sunderland have had, I would say, a fairly decent start to the season. Yeah. Of course, they had that beautiful start to the season, smashing West Ham, so good result for them. And then they lost the next game. And I'm sure everyone would have felt like the jury is now out. They've gone back to their, the form you expect from a promoted side. But no, back against another established Premier League side in Brentford. They won that game, diamond 2-1. And Kevin Shadow's penalty was just, Kevin Shadow's penalty. He wanted to be like Mbeumo, and was the face of the former striker for Brentford as well, that's now in the Saudi Pro League. He wanted to play a sort of penalty where you look at the goalkeeper, and then patiently wait for the goalkeeper to pick a spot, dive, and then you score. But that was not the case here. He ended up playing straight into the hands of the goalkeeper. For me, if you want to play a penalty, maybe I'm a bit old school. You go full Alan Shearer, or you pick your spot, smash it in there. If the goalkeeper is going to save it, let him pull up some blue lock-esque stunt and save it, as opposed to all this tippy-tappy nonsense. You stutter, and then you play. No. So, but if you're going to play this sort of crazy style of penalties, you best be combating them. So, top back to Sunderland, 6 points from a possible 9. That's a good result in anyone's books, and especially for a team that just gained promotion. So, top marks to Sunderland, and Isidore, congratulations to him. I think his partner gave birth to a child as well before the game. So, top marks to him, congratulations on top front, scoring everywhere. So, top marks to Sunderland. I think they've had a more than decent start to the season so far. And then let's go on. Yeah, Bournemouth, talk about Bournemouth. Bournemouth absolutely smashed Spurs. Everton as well, putting a very good performance. So top marks to all these teams. And then of course, we will have to talk about the Chelsea game. Now, we're seeing people saying things that are just absolutely crazy to me. Chelsea had the early kickoff, and people have been going on about, it shouldn't have been, just should have lost, or maybe the goal that was chopped off for Fulham shouldn't have been chopped off, should have been a valid goal, coming up with all sorts of weird reasons, Some are saying, it was scored by 18-year-old. He scored his first goal for the season, his first ever goal in the Premier League, whatever it should have stood. And some say, where should Muniz have kept his foot? Well, there's one place he shouldn't have gone, on the ankle of Chalobah. How about that? How about we start with that? And one thing people forget is that he missed. He lost control of the ball when he did that pirouette thing. When you want to do those skills, scissor kicks, overhead kicks, what we used to call younger snake bite with the ball, you have to have spatial awareness. You have to be aware of what's happening around you, because that's high risk, high reward. When you score the overhead kick, it's high risk. You might end up hitting someone in the face, having the goal chopped off, or you might end up shanking the ball to the heavens, or you might end up scoring a worldie. So high risk, high reward. So when you want to attempt that, you have to be super careful and super mindful of your surroundings, right? Now, before I go on to what people have said about it, I will talk about the game. For me, being a Chelsea fan, like I say, I'll take a horrible, absolutely trash performance on all 3 points any day, anytime, twice on Sunday, over a scintillating, possession dominant, chance created dominance, and then you lose or you drop points. I'll take a shoddy performance, so you can look inwards and say, we weren't performing badly, but we can actually. That means when we play at our best, we can go out there, dominate teams, and win. Because when you play so well and you lose, it can be crushing as well, right? It can be really, really crushing, because we've played our best, we created all the chances in the world, we dominated position 95%, but we didn't win. It could crush you, but overall, I'll take the 2 points, but the performance was rubbish. Some people were trying to say the second half it got better. No, it was still rubbish. It was still an awful, god-awful performance, in my humble opinion. Now, start of the game, say 5-10 minutes, Chelsea looked good. What's his face right now? Liam Delap was really putting himself about, doing Delap things, making life difficult for the Fulham defenders, and they look terrified. In my opinion, they look terrified, right? And then you had João Pedro playing in behind, and for me, I felt like that was a bit stupid or a bit silly, a silly choice by Enzo Maresca, in my humble opinion, because I just felt like, why play João Pedro there? You had the tools to play João Pedro in the 9, you play Estavayo in the 10, play Neto out wide at the right wing, you play Tyreek George on the what's it called now, on the left wing. So Liam Delap picked up the injury, and for me, I was like, okay, he picked up this injury. That's bad. As he was rubbing his hamstrings, I was saying, Lord, please let this not be a serious injury. He kept rubbing it, rubbing it. At some point, he couldn't move. My mind was, wow, that's done. That's him done. That's him done for the game at least. And then you had the medics come on, the usual thing, show the signs, and then he had to leave the pitch. And at that point, I was feeling, okay, Enzo Maresca, Liam Delap has had to leave the pitch, unfortunately. What changes are you going to make? Then he brought on Tyreek George, and I felt like, okay, he's bringing on Tyreek George, Estevao Williams on the pitch already. All right, I'm seeing what he's going to do right here. Neto is going to come out to the left, to the right. Tyreek George will go to the left, and then you have Estevao Williams playing the 10 row. João Pedro, will play the 9 row. But to my shock, to my amazement, and I'm sure some of you might have been shocked as well, but I think Enzo Maresca showed why he's paid the big bucks, because he did something up to this point. I don't quite understand why he did it. Just to play Tyreek George as a 9. And as a 9 who would play with his back to goal, having to bump and grind against powerful, huge defenders. Tyreek George, who his best position is either at left wing, or worst case scenario, I want to overstretch this player 10 row behind a striker, where he can run at defenders, have the ball, run at defenders. He made Tyreek George look useless. And true to form, you see some Chelsea fans in the chats, and sometimes when people give sort of opinions, everyone's entitled to the opinion for sure, but when they give sort of opinions, you wonder, do you actually watch football, or you just pick the club and decided, oh, I'll pick this club and I'll banter players and I'll banter other clubs? Oh, Tyreek George is useless. Why is he at the club? Let him go. You're playing a kid out of position in a role that he's not physically ready for. Because if this was a 19-year-old Erling Haaland, yes, he will still be a young kid, but my Lord, 19 years old, Erling Haaland was still built. He was still like a giant. So while he would have been a young player, inexperienced maybe, but he would have still been able to match up, in terms of physicality, right? He would have still been able to put his body around his body, make life difficult for the defenders. But Tyreek George just threw him into the deep end. And this is sort of things for me that Enzo Maresca did for Nkunku and João Felix, and they got sold. And I know maybe whether he doesn't like Tyreek George or the club wants to sell Tyreek George, but if you don't want to play a player, simple, don't play him. Let him be on the bench. Let the player sit on the bench. Fine. But when you play a player out of position, for me, it just feels like you're being wicked to the player. Because one, you want to put the player in a bad spot and then make him look bad, and the fans who would have a bad opinion of him, and then some owners that may not be too, that may not have that full knowledge of football, because many of the owners that play like don't really know the intricacies of the academy, who is the winger, who's the striker. Look at the player and say, to the untrained eye, he's not contributing anything on the pitch. So why are you having him there? So you're being really nasty with that. He did that with João Felix, he did that with Nkunku, playing 2 minutes here, 3 minutes here, and then sometimes playing out of position. And then true to form, he had to take Tyreek George off the pitch. So that was crazy to me. Now, we have to talk about this right now here. We'll talk about the goal that was chopped off. The goal that was chopped off. Talk about it, right? So for me, first of course, I was really, really getting upset while I was watching the game. I was shouting, losing my voice. I was like, why is Chelsea, why are Chelsea performing so badly on the day? And my first instinct when the goal was scored, I was like, wow, they've gone and scored. And I felt like it was coming. Like it was coming. Chelsea deserves to go behind. Chelsea deserves to go behind. And it should be a goal. I started thinking to myself, the way Chelsea have been playing, would they be able to, come back, fight back, against this Fulham side, that have beat Chelsea last season at home? But then they showed the replay. And the funny thing, where I can only give some maybe, I wouldn't say out, where I can agree with people is that the referee took too long. And it wasn't that difficult to see. The first replay you see, boom, it's a foul. The first replay you see, it's a foul. There's no, I don't know why the referee spent so long having to look at it. When you see this, what else do you call this? People were saying, oh, his leg had to land somewhere. Yeah, his leg had to land somewhere. Not on top of the foot of Trevor Chalobah. His leg had to land somewhere. And that's why I said at the top of the show, if you want to do any of these crazy skills, scissor kicks, step overs, this sort of pirouetting on the ball, you have to be spatially aware. If you want to fend off a defender, you have to be spatially aware as well, right? You don't put your fingers in the defender's eyes and say, oh, wow, this is a mistake, so it shouldn't be called a foul. Now, there are stages of fouls, right? Where you have the Eric Cantona type fouls where he decided to head kick, I think was it Leeds United fan or so, or he dropped kick someone in the head. Now, for me, that one is sheer wickedness, red card, you're gone, right? You have the Roy Keane one versus Alfie Haaland, just stomped on him while he was on the floor. Obvious red card, clear. You were just vengeful. You intended to actually hurt the player. You should be gone, clear, right? But for this one, he didn't intend to do it. It was just an accident. So foul, no booking, fair play. So how people are going on about to say, oh, this is the free kick. Oh, if you didn't play football. Well, I get it. If you didn't play football, I still think you still know what the pain of studs on the top of your foot would feel like, right? There's no way and people keep showing these some funny videos that I won't show here because I don't want any issues with copyright yet. This slow-mo of Muniz stepping on the foot of Chalobah like that in some way is gonna make it not a foul. It's a foul. It's a foul, people. It is a foul. Coming from someone that was not happy with the game, I was expecting, and when Chelsea scored, I was like, okay, it's done. You guys have been playing poorly in this game. You deserve this loss you're about to take. You deserve this large L you're about to swallow. That's what was in my head. But looking at this, it was a foul. It was a foul. People say, oh, he didn't mean to do it. Of course he didn't mean to do it. That's why it's not a red card. That's why it's not a question of possible sending off. It's a red card. Now, speaking of professionalism, right? The person that was truly professional here was Chalobah. Was Trevor Chalobah. He was the person that was actually professional. Because if he wasn't professional, maybe he would have chased down Muniz, maybe give him a nice 1-2 combo. Maybe for me, that I'm not a footballer, if I was there and someone stomped on my foot, maybe I chase the person down, pin the person, ground and pound, and maybe fork and choke the person. But no, he was professional. He got stepped on. He decided, okay, I'll wait for the referee to make a decision. And the referee made the right decision going to VAR. I have issues with VAR as well, but in this instance, on this occasion, this was a foul. And then the joke part of it all was the thing about, oh, it was a young kid, he scored his first PL goal and he got that moment taken away from him. Yeah, I'm sure he learned something. He learned something that day. You can't benefit from a crime. You can't benefit from things that have gone wrong. I'm sure he'll have a very good career, and at some point he will score a legitimate goal. So I don't get this point. And watching the reaction of people and watching the likes of Danny Murphy on, Match of the Day, watching the likes of Rio Ferdinand on X saying whatever he was saying, It terrified me. You know why it terrified me? Because the media can actually warp your mind. The greatest power someone can have over you is to control what you're seeing. Like you're seeing it, yet they're making you feel like it's not what you're seeing. You're watching Muniz do the turn, step on Chaloba's foot, but they're making you feel like that's not what happened. It was an accident. Where would he have kept his foot? So it was a foul, and that goal was rightly chopped off. Now, this is a bit funny, right? It's a bit funny, it's strange, it's weird, it's odd. Again, Match of the Day, Mal Goldbridge and a lot of other people keep talking that Chelsea scored on the 9th minute. Now, do we know what the rule around added time is? The rule around added time is 8 minutes minimum, 7 minutes minimum, 4 minutes minimum. And I am even against that rule. I'm against that rule. I'm like, people have played 45 minutes, people have played 90 minutes. So if you're adding time, if you're saying 4 minutes, it should be 4 minutes. But we've seen time and time and time and time and time and time again that referees don't stop the game once it gets to that 50. It gets to that, maybe if it's 4 minutes, once it gets to 50 minutes, sometimes it doesn't get stopped. Sometimes the referees add two additional minutes. And certainly, it's very rare to see referees blow the whistle when the ball has gone out for a corner kick. It's very rare to see that. So people trying to make it out, oh, Chelsea scored in the 9th minute. Wow. Come on now. You guys should chill. The media is super powerful. And you have people that jump on the bandwagon to seem like, I'm right too. But believe your eyes. Even if you don't believe what I'm saying, believe what you see. You're watching the screen. Muniz even lost control of the ball. He did that pirouette thing. The ball moved away from him and he stepped on Chaloba's feet or foot. And the only reason this is not booking or considered for being booked for a dangerous play, he didn't mean to do it. It's clear he didn't mean to do it. But it's a foul. It's an infringement. Now, let's create a scenario. Yeah, let's create a scenario. It's in the chat. I side with Jackson here. Not gonna lie, I feel like he's kind of in the right. Hasim, don't worry, I'll get to that very soon. Just with this game, I think I kind of feel for Jackson as well, but we'll get on more with the discussion as well. So let's go there. Now, let's say you have a striker, right? He's in the box. A pass is played to him. He has the ball under his spell. He has his left foot protecting the ball. And then a defender's coming behind him, right? Coming behind him, with the intention of nicking the ball. This octopus challenge players like to make? Yeah, put their leg in front of the striker, get the ball. And then the striker, the corner of his eyes, notices the defender is coming. Says, okay, I'll put my left foot out there. I'll put my right foot out there, block him, so he kicks my shin, my ankles, rather than getting the ball. Or he hits the side of my shin rather than getting the ball. But the striker misjudges the distance and then accidentally steps on the feet of the defender in the 18-yard box. And then turns, pirouette, takes a shot, top bins, scores. What should happen? Should that be given as a valid goal? Or should it be chopped off? Another one, what if you have a striker, you're doing this thing, trying to feel for where the defender is, trying to fend off the defender, finger, eyes of the defender. What should happen? Should that not be called up? Of course it should be called up. Of course it should be 150 million percent it should be called up. So you may say, oh, Chelsea fan, you want to protect Chelsea? No. I was upset with that game. I was ready to come out and blaze Chelsea for a horrible performance. And I think the goals were rightly chopped off. And for the penalty, what was Sessegnon thinking? It was, if you're looking in any sort of encyclopedia where they say goal, describe a penalty, image here. That was it. Hand up in the air, and that's a penalty. So for me, Chelsea's performance didn't deserve a win, but they got to win. So fair play for me with Chelsea. Got to win. Let's see with the games coming up. Super Sunday clash. Will it be Liverpool, Arsenal? Let's see how that all shapes up. And Liverpool are really digging it to Arsenal now. They'll be sure. I think there'll be a trophy parade or something like that during that day. So let's see how Arsenal fans will react to that one. But overall, that's my personal opinions on the games we played yesterday. Let's see how the games for this week, game week 3, day 2, would shape up. Now, we switch to the Chelsea drama, the Chelsea madness that's been going on at Chelsea. First off, we talked about Nicolas Jackson heading off to Bayern, on loan option with an option to buy as opposed to an obligation to buy. So, as opposed to an obligation to buy. So the way we're looking at it, okay, will he have the game time to hit those minutes, and all that? And then as Liam Delap pulled his hamstring, in my head I was thinking, does this mean Chelsea will record Jackson? But I said, nah, it's not going to happen. I said, nah, that's not going to happen. That can't really happen here, right? It can't happen. Forget about it. Forget about it. That's not going to happen here. But then the game is over. Next thing we, okay, yeah. Enzo Maresca, during an interview, is asked about, does this mean Jackson will be recalled? He said, I don't know, just finished the game. Then we hear Jackson is recalled. Chelsea, we informed Bayern Munich that we're drawing permission for Jackson to go on with his medical, and they want to recall him. Now, and this is what I want to start with, in terms of how clubs treat players, right? That's what I want to start with. This is not a Chelsea thing. It's our Manchester United, Liverpool, all clubs. When even Newcastle United, when clubs don't want players, what they do is, go train with the kids. Even if the player says, I want to stay and fight for my place, right? I want to show that I belong. I want to show what I can do. The club say, go train with the kids. Train apart from the team. Chelsea did that last season with Sterling. I wanted Sterling gone, but that's what Chelsea did. They kept him apart from everyone else, ostracized him. You train alone, you stay alone, don't bother. And a lot of Chelsea fans are like, yeah, you're doing it right. But when you treat players that way, one, you reduce their value. So when clubs come to bid, for a player that a club would have come in to bid £60 million for, maybe they bid 30. Now, a player then no longer feels like he wants to be at the club. And we've all seen Jackson, how it's like when he starts sulking. So, Jackson's head is no longer at Chelsea. So you want to force him back. Okay, force him. Okay, good. Show your power. Yeah, come back, join the club. Under contract, yeah. But he still has to go on that pitch and play, right? He does. What if he doesn't play well? What if he goes there with his head up in the clouds, injures someone, red card, suspended, 3 games, gone? What do you do then? So sometimes the way players are treated, don't be shocked because we just watch the game. We don't put ourselves, and football is like escapism for a lot of us fans. Yeah, we watch the game and we're like, oh, exciting play. Well, we forget these players are humans. We don't put ourselves in their shoes. So while contractually Jackson is still a Chelsea player, nothing has been signed yet to see him join, Bayern. But I think it's risky on 2 fronts, right? It's risky on 2 fronts because Jackson will cook in the Bundesliga. Why? He will cook because they play crazy high lines, in the German Bundesliga. He's got pace. Bayern Munich is absolutely head and shoulders the best team in the German first division. There is no team even close. So he will shine. He will score maybe 20, 25 goals. And if he does that at Bayern, one thing you know for certain, he will be signed up. He will be signed to join Bayern, and Bayern pays you that £60 million. Good money coming in. It helps you set the books right for the next season. So I think it's risky to bring him back on several fronts. One, psychologically, his head is no longer at the club. So Yasim says they get Jackson back, also his head won't be in the club. I agree. His head won't be in the club. That's the truth about the matter. So we all say be professional, play, but also look at the way the club have treated him. So I'm all for coming to the club, be professional, play, fair play. But would he play well? We've seen Jackson when he's sulking. We've seen Jackson when he's unhappy. And this is times two. Whatever he was feeling like is times two. Then what happens to Jackson when Liam Delap comes back? And one thing we have to remember as well, Chelsea are also working on Emmanuel Emega for next season. So what happens then? So these are the things we should look at. So there's also talk of Chelsea being interested in Conrad Harder, instead of, thankfully not Harder Conrad, but Conrad Harder, the Danish striker that plays for Sporting Lisbon. I think he was signed while Gyökeres was at the club, sort of as understudy for him. I think he has taken off the mantle of Gyökeres. He's pacey, he's powerful, has a very good shot, but it doesn't look like a very good team player in my opinion. But anyway, it was just short clips I watched. So fair is on that if he's super professional. So for me, I just think it's just risky getting Jackson to come to the club, to return to the club. And one thing we have to point out as well is what Enzo Maresca is doing. Now, I'm not blaming Enzo Maresca for Delap's injury, but we have to question, why is Enzo Maresca deciding to play two strikers at the same time? I know we say Cole Palmer is out injured, fair play. I get that bit. Right? I get that point. But we've got Estavallo is right there. In-house solution. In-house solution. So this question of playing with two nines kind of is weird to me, right? And another thing to consider as well, one of the main reasons you're having João Pedro playing that 10 role, I don't agree with it. I think you should be having Estavallo there. But why João Pedro is playing there is because Cole Palmer is out injured. What happens when Cole Palmer comes back? Because he is not a long-term injury. So when he comes back, takes up the 10 role, João Pedro obviously will start. What happens to Jackson? You have him sulking around. So on lots of fronts, you have possible money to miss out on. Because I don't think if Jackson comes back with his head not being in the right place, he's not going to give his best. And when he doesn't give his best, the value you can get for him if he goes to Bayern would plummet, right? So let's see how that all shapes up. Although we're hearing talks about Bayern considering, either signing him outright or agreeing to have the option to buy change to an obligation. So that means once the season ends, you're automatically signed by Bayern. So let's see, how all that will shape up. And I look at Conrad Harder. Would he be a good addition? Well, for me, it's complicated because right now, Emega is waiting somewhere, right? After Strasbourg, he could come join Chelsea next season. And then Marc Guiu as well is already there. So for me, I think the better option would be, you might say, but you say don't recall Jackson. Why are you saying recall Marc Guiu? Marc Guiu is less stressed because he knows he's number two, first off. Secondly, it feels like Sunderland are not even going to play him. So I think that's a better option. Or you go for the Emega that you're looking to come in next season. Because if you remember in some videos, I said this. I said, Jackson wanting to leave is not just about the lap. It's about the whole circumstance, right? You've seen Delap joining, João Pedro joining. You've got two. And I'm sure his agent, Diamanse Kamara, would have also been hearing Chelsea are also working on the Manuel Emega to join the club. So he looked at himself, 3 strikers to fight with. That's not going to happen. So this just all seemed like a crazy, crazy mess. Drama everywhere, right? And that's why I just feel like this director of football, Pauli and Lowry, they're not particularly good at their job. I think they're good, but not particularly good at the job at this high level. So fair play. If we all hope and prayers, if you're just fan out there, I'm sure if you're a rival fan out there, you're probably laughing your hiney off. But if you're a Chelsea fan, you're probably thinking Nicolas Jackson's comeback is going to do well for me. If he comes back, and hopefully he gets his head in the right place, be as professional as he possibly can, and gets on with it and contributes and helps the team regardless. But then the question remains, like I said, if Liam Delap returns, what happens to Nicolas Jackson? What becomes the situation of Nicolas Jackson? Does it become a situation where he becomes number 2? A lot of people are predicting, if Jackson comes back, Delap becomes automatically, number 2. No one is. That's not happening. So that's the issue with that one. That's the issue with that one. For me, Jackson is going to come back. Well, let him come back then. But I think it's going to be tough to reintegrate Jackson. And I think the club has treated him badly. And that's where this whole thing lies. Because the easy way, if the club had made him feel like, you're part of our project, stay with us, and he just thought to himself, maybe game time, I wouldn't get to play, then it's a different thing. But the club made him feel like, you're not in our project anymore, we're moving on to different things. Then that's the issue. And then we've had several statements made, by different parties. So you've had Max Abel, a director at Bayern. He's come up with a statement. I'm sure some of us saw it yesterday, but also we can also talk about it today as well on the show. I've not had a discussion about this with you guys, so let me know what you think about this. So Yassim, let me read what Yassim had to say before we go on. So in the chat, Yassim says, they want Jackson to do how Chalobah did for Chelsea. Now, I said this when Chelsea were linked to Xavi Simons. Like, a lot of these players are not Chelsea fans. They probably love to be connected to the club. They love to play. They love that the club has given an opportunity. They're playing for the club. They're earning money. They're doing a job. They're being faithful to the club. And football is a passionate sport. So everyone is kind of involved in it, right? Everyone is kind of passionate when you're playing it. But when you've made someone feel like he's worthless, right? When you make someone feel like you're not quite good enough, I don't quite like you. I don't quite like you anymore. I know you used to be, my boo, but no longer feeling you anymore. So I have two new boos right now, two new partners. I don't want to roll with you anymore. And you kind of get the hint and saying, I want to move somewhere else. So I think that's one thing that a lot of football fans don't get when players want to leave their club. So this is what Max Abel said. So Bayern director Max Abel on Nicolas Jackson, I'm not in a position to act. We will tell the player and his agent that they have to go back to London. He's a Chelsea player. For final 48 hours, we will try to find a solution. And after this, we've also heard it talk about, then we heard it talk about Bayern wanting to sign him on the permanent, or rather exploring the idea of signing Jackson on the permanent or having the obligation inserted. I think that having the obligation inserted is the best way to go, because Jackson doesn't want to be at the club. William Gallas, remember William Gallas? He said he was going to score an own goal. So he doesn't want to be at the club anymore, the way he's been treated. And I said this once on Twitter, and someone made some funny remark, like it was a joke. I said, if you treat players like trading as tradable assets, just mere tradable assets, then you're going to have trouble. Oh, you're a piece of shirt we want to sell, and then if you're a piece of shirt we want to sell, if someone wants to buy you, we're going to sell you. If no one wants to buy you, maybe we'll wear you or keep you in our closet and just toss you somewhere. Or your pair of shoes that we owe. So if you treat players that way, you end up losing players. And while it may be profitable, right, to sell players, while it's profitable to buy players on the low, sell on the high, stockpile a lot of talent, but you have the issue of dealing with these players on a human level. So that's the Chelsea madness, the drama around Chelsea strikers, the Conrad Hadda, should Chelsea signing. Chelsea fans on here, do you think Chelsea should go out there and sign Conrad Hadda? Conrad Hadda, go out there and sign him, or we call Marc Guiu, or stamp their feet down and say, Nicolas Jackson, you're coming back, you're a Chelsea player, you're training with the team next day, get yourself prepared, after the international break. We're going up against, maybe we get to play Bayern in the Champions League, or wherever you get to play in the league. You opt for that, or you feel Chelsea should look for other solutions, maybe academy, Chimweka. Some opinions on what Chelsea should do. And then we talked about the various Premier League games, this game week 1 yesterday that took place, some opinions on that one. And I also talked about the Chelsea Fulham game, the call for the sort of outcry, I'll call it false rage. A lot of fans, pundits, you're trying to put out there that somehow the game is gone, the game is lost, like ESPN FC, match of the day. A lot of people on X, Ferdinand and the likes, trying to act like that wasn't a foul. Of course, that's a foul. If that happened to the build-up to a goal against Manchester United, I'm sure people will lose their minds. I'm sure if that happens in the Liverpool game versus Arsenal, I'm sure Danny Murphy and the likes will lose their minds as well. It was a foul. So total opinions on that one. I just feel like that the only thing I would blame VAR for in that whole thing was they took too long to come to a decision. It was clear as day. If you saw the real-time replay, Muni's pirouettes, stamps on Chalobah's foot, straight up foul, goal chopped up. But they had to look at it over and over again. It was almost like they were trying to find a way to make that not a foul. It was clear. Just did one view. Turn. And people say he was no longer in control of the ball. Because he turned, the ball left his left foot, moved away from him, and he stepped on Chalobah's foot. So that's a foul for me, in my opinion. The young kid, he scored a goal. Well, that's a life lesson. Sometimes in life, you can't profit. You shouldn't be able to profit from wrong things. And there was a foul in the build-up, so no. And people acting like, oh, like VAR has always been favoring Chelsea. VAR has cost Chelsea at least one cup victory, when Tuchel was at the club. Right? Lukaku onside, somehow, some way, they said it was off. And then goal chopped off. Even in the Premier League game, where, in my mind, I don't think Aspilicueta fouled the Southampton player, but they say he fouled him, and then 18 seconds later, they pulled that the goal that Werner scored was chopped off because of the foul. So I've had issues with VAR. I disagree with a lot of things that they do with VAR, but in this instance, the only problem I have with VAR is that it took unnecessarily long to come to the decision. And the people are saying, oh, because it took so long, they had to look at multiple replays. That means it wasn't clear and obvious. It shouldn't have been called up. It's a contact sport. Yeah, it's a contact sport. But how about you don't stamp on someone's foot? It's a contact sport doesn't mean people should start clotheslining players on the pitch or suplexing players. No, it is contact sport. I know, shoulder to shoulder contact. Jostling for position, 18-yard box. For crosses, contact sport. And I think this media vitriol, because usually what happens is when you have a lot of media vitriol, backlash, things, usually causes the FA PGM morale to change things. They change things for the worse. And I think this may end up causing PGM morale to change the rules and make things even crazier, because at the start of the season, they already say something about, what did they call it now? They said not every contact in the box is a penalty. And I've seen in the Spurs Burnley game, a team missed out on getting a penalty because a player was just smashed in the box. And they said not all contact is a penalty, right? In the game versus Crystal Palace, Enzo Fernandez was going for a ball, someone hit him in the back. They said not all contact is penalty. In Liverpool Newcastle United game, you had, was it Gravenberch or Konate, his arm fully around the waist of a Newcastle United player, had him in cuffs, in locks, had his hands around him this way, and it's no penalty. That's already crazy. So you want to add stamping on someone's foot to the pile? It's just insane to me. So picking on the performances, on the results from last week, who would you say had the best performance or the most surprising performance so far? For me, I'll say the most surprising performance, or I'll say I've been most impressed by Sunderland, because I said they will be one of the people to go down. But they came up, showed intention in the transfer market, signing like Adingra, getting Marc Guiu on loan, so keeping Enzo Lefebvre. And you look at them and say, okay, they're doing a decent job there. So they won their first game impressively against West Ham 3-0, and you're feeling like, wow, winning 3-0. And then the next game they lost, you feel like, wow, okay, they've now lost. That means it could be a tough running for them. But they've gone on to have a good win, have a good win against Brentford. And Brentford is not an easy team, not a joke. Went on win 1-1, top marks for them. And that Kevin Schade penalty was crazy. It was wild. That's why not everyone plays the penalty that way. There's a point, there's a philosophy to it. That penalty, when you play penalty that way, you are super patient, you're not rushing, you're going gently, you're waiting for the keeper to slightly commit to one side, and then you play the other side. And you're not looking to stretch, you're not looking to smash it into the far post. You're just looking to get the goalkeeper to dive the wrong way and you place it the next. And he got it wrong. And then the Manchester United game, well, their fans can be happy about it because they got the win, because the win is a win. I wouldn't be a hypocrite. I'll say I'll take a shoddy performance that ends up in a win over an excellent performance with a loss or draw points. But their midfield is still as open. It's as open as you know what. So they need to get midfielders that actually play that role. Two things they can do. Either you sack Ruben Amorim, or you get two midfielders that can actually play that box-to-box role that central midfield demands. And Mount is not one of them. Bruno Fernandes, for certain, can't play that role. Casemiro, no. But let's see what they decide to do. Deadline day is tomorrow, and we'll be having, our transfer deadline day show tomorrow. To be a long one, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and share this video with people you feel will love content like this as well. And then we also talked about the Bournemouth game versus Spurs. Have Spurs returned to being Spursy, or we just chuck that down at a bad day at the office? Because Bournemouth were actually dominant, created lots more chances, more shots on goal. So they were actually dominant. It wasn't one of those ones where Spurs created all the chances and then Bournemouth just got lucky breaks, scored one goal, held on for dear life. With better finishing, probably Bournemouth puts 2, 3, 4 even past Spurs. So for me, I think Thomas Frank will come good at Spurs. And I think this is probably just a bad day at the office. He'll find a way to come good because unlike Amorim, he's flexible. Because if it's Ange, he'll play the high line, concede 5 goals per game and just keep going. And I wonder if some sports fans are saying, oh, he got us the European Cup, let's get Ange back. I wish they would. So, and then of course we talked about the Chelsea game. Chelsea, Fulham. For me, I say Chelsea, awful performance. just take the win and run away. And also Liam Delap picking up a hamstring injury and could be out for up to 2 months, 8 weeks. Is just sad for the player. I know he wanted to really be part of the England squad, but on the plus side, on the good side for him is that this was a silver lining behind the hamstring cloud is that it's early in the season. So this is we're talking August now. So we're looking maybe end of October. He should be back. And then he can play all through till the end of the season, and that would give him enough body of work to at least display for the benefit of Thomas Tuchel. Maybe he gets to be part of the English national team squad going into the World Cup. But overall performance not too good. And then of course Chelsea drama, crazy thing going on with Nicolas Jackson. Everything said, took the normal pictures in private jets. It's almost like this is what every player does now. On transfer you must have that private jet picture. Everyone poses, your family, everybody in a private jet, took the picture, landed in Germany, taking pictures, smiling, looking fine, looking good, and then get the message, oh no, come back. Liam Delap has picked up an injury. You come in to train with the team. Now, on the one side, he could do something that maybe I wouldn't even do, which is, okay, this is annoying, it's painful, but I come back, I train with the boys, I compete with João Pedro, and then really put in such a performance that no one remembers Liam Delap. And then on the other side, he can think to himself, I have been poorly treated, I've been pushed out of the team, made to feel like I'm not part of the project, I've been shipped off to Germany, and now just at the cusp of getting my life restarted, then you call me back to play for you, and the only reason you're doing that is because a player is injured. What happens when Liam Delap recovers from his injury? Do I still get to play, or do I still rock the bench? Do I still straddle the bench? And he may decide not to come back. So let's see what happens with that one. And say Chelsea, in view of Nicolas Jackson's stance, are considering striking options. Conrad from Lisbon, looking at maybe recalling Marc Guiu. So let's see how that all shapes up. For me, I just think that the Jackson situation is a real big mess that could and should have been avoided. And also, I want to say this: it's definitely not the case for having 3 strikers. People are going on about, oh, this is why you need to have 3 strikers. So does that mean for every position you need to have 3 players? You need to have 3 centers. You need to have 3 center midfielders or 2 central midfielders behind Caicedo. 3 central midfielders behind Enzo. 3 left backs, 3 right backs, 3 centre backs, 3 left centre backs, 3 right centre backs, and then 3 right wingers, 3 left wingers. Is that what you want to do? For me, no. And one point I want to raise, I know lots of people right now don't want to say it. Everyone's so in love with Enzo Maresca right now, and they feel like the way to show your love to a manager, I know there's some Manchester United fans who are that way, there's some Liverpool fans who are that way, Arsenal fans who are that way. They feel like the only way to show love for your manager is to support him no matter what he does. Don't ever call him out. Don't ever say, what Enzo Maresca's selection today, he chose to pick the janitor as a right back, and that is quite wrong. No, if he picks the janitor as a right back, that must be a right decision. I, for one, I'm not inclined to behave that way. And the way he played Tyreek George yesterday was shameful, absolutely shameful, in my opinion, because Tyreek George, you've watched him all his life at Chelsea, you've seen him training and all that. He's not a 9, definitely not a typical old school 9 that will have his back to goal. And that's where Enzo Maresca chose to play him. That is wrong. And you have lots of fans that have watched the game and say, oh, he's such a bad player, I don't want him at the club. Some talking about his braids, which is just stupid to me, right? It's just stupid. Play a player in his rightful position. If he struggles in his rightful position, then fine. And what made it worse for me was, it wasn't like Maresca's hands were tied, he didn't have any solutions on the pitch. There were solutions on the pitch. right? You had João Pedro, sign him as a striker. Why not make him play as a striker? You have Esteban William that could play in the 10. Why not move him to the 10? Pedro Neto, play on the right. Tyreek George, play on the left. You have these solutions on the pitch, but you play the player out of position. And to what benefit? To what benefit does it bring? The player ends up not playing well. You end up crushing the player's confidence. He doesn't produce for the team. Hence, the team doesn't get it good. Doesn't maybe score in the game. And what do you gain? I struggle to see it. Each time managers do this, I just feel bad. And that's why you see sometimes players say, I don't want to play for the club anymore. And then fans get irate. Oh, why don't you want to play for the club anymore? Or throw him away. Think about how clubs treat players. If you want players to start the club, how you treat them. For me, I think Tyreek George could be another one out the window because you saw how he was playing out of position. You saw his face when he was coming off. So most likely, could be leaving. Maybe it could end up at maybe Roma. Roma were linked to him. RB Leipzig were linked to him as well. I was thinking he was going to be part of that deal that would see Xavi Simons go the other way. But that didn't happen. What's under the bridge? Xavi Simons now is a sports player. I'm sure he must be wondering what's going on, how he's landed at Spurs, and maybe seeing that loss, to Bournemouth could be something that makes him scratch his head even more and ask himself, is this what I'm in for? But overall, a game day, or like a game week day one, game week 3 day one, full of a lot of drama, full of a lot of back and forth, ups and downs, and twists and turns. So let's see what happens with Nico Jackson if he does come back. Let me see what you say in the chat about, Nico Jackson, Conrad Harder is a striker you rate if you're a Chelsea fan. Today and tomorrow, Asim says, today and tomorrow will be a roller coaster for Chelsea. Of course, it's going to be absolute madness. It will be madness, absolute bedlam. And that seems to be the way at Chelsea right now. Since Bluco clearly took over the club, it's been this way. It's been this way. And I think one of the reasons it's been this way is because the club has completely, I wouldn't say completely, but ignored certain talents at the club. That's why the way they just treated some players. And don't forget, there's one striker that seems he's still attached to the club, but people think he's gone. And that is David Washington. He just he went on loan last season. And when the Brazilian league ends, he will be coming back to Chelsea. So that's another one to think about, right? I've seen this one before. They want Jackson to do Chalobah. Chalobah is a Chelsea fan, Chelsea Academy boy. So the way he will behave is quite different, but for Jackson, the way he has been treated, I just think you don't want him here. Yeah, you can strong will him, you can force him, you can drag him, cajole him, make sure he comes here. But if his head is not at the club, then that's an issue. So maybe before Chelsea goes on with super strong arm tactics, you get Enzo Maresca, call Jackson, have a discussion, have to have a discussion with Jackson and say, come to the club, I want you. I know you had to leave because Liam Delap was signed, but right now you're going to be my guy. Have that talk with him, have him convinced, have his head cleared. Else, if you just want to show power, it's in the contract. Then he will come in and do bare minimums. And when a player does bare minimums, one, you have to pay his salary still, right? You have to pay mad bonuses still. But the club will suffer because he will not be performing. So that's what I think we as fans sometimes we have to take into consideration, and not just, oh, he has a contract, he has a contract, he has a contract. So I think that's with Nicolas Jackson. As things continue to change, I would continue to drop updates on it. I'll have shows on here where, we'll talk about Jackson's situation, we'll talk about later results in the game, and hopefully at the end, you see, they've come up with this thing. They've come up with this thing saying it was a mistake. I've come up with this, so I'll just pause and I'll share this right now. They've made a mistake. This is outright, this is just crazy. It's crazy. It is crazy. They've come up with this saying it's a joke, saying they made a mistake. What stupid thing is this? You made a mistake. Really. This is what you want to say. I'm not going to play anything. I'll just share this because I don't want any issues. So this is what the tweet is. Breaking. The PGMOL have acknowledged that VAR made a mistake in disallowing the Josh King's goal for Fulham against Chelsea. First off, all these apologies after the fact are just pure useless, right? But this is as idiotic as it gets. It's just like apologizing just like a police officer apologizing for arresting someone that slapped someone in the face. Oh, sorry, I have to apologize because I arrested this man wrongly that slapped you in the face. What is this? I said that the PGMOL, I called it right on here. I said the PGM, with all this media backlash, vitriol and all, you have some craziness like this. PGMOL will come up with some apology. What are you apologizing for? And what people like Rio Ferdinand and the likes don't get is that you're setting a precedence for something very dangerous. People are going to get hurt, and referees will hide behind it was a mistake. How do you define a mistake? How do you define a mistake? How do you define it in football? Because I want people to tell me how many players go out there to say, I want to hurt a player. How many? How many players go out there and say, today, you know what, I'm going to stomp on the player's foot? But it happens. Mistimed tackle, not reading how the player has kept his foot, or the player behind you, you accidentally, foul the player. It does happen that way. So how then do you talk about mistake, except your Luis Suarez that just goes on to bite people? But how do you call this an error? So what would you say? In all of this, everyone is ignoring Trevor Chalobah. In all of this, everyone is ignoring the fact that Chalobah had his ankles stepped on. That's what everyone seems to be ignoring. Everyone seems to be ignoring that fact that Chalobah had his feet stepped on. And telling me it's a contact sport. I wish you would keep your ankles and let me step on them. And let's see how you feel about it. Yeah? So, let's see what I agree. Fulham goal should have stood. This is what Chelsea fan Eunice has to say. Has a big channel. Let's share and see this. People are going on to say all sorts of weird, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff, right? So it's going to say this, okay. I was about to end this video, but nonetheless, let's go. I fully agree with this. As much as I agree that Fulham's goal should have stood, it was another team. No, it shouldn't have stood. On the basis of what should that Fulham goal have stood? People are setting horribly dangerous precedents. So if a player pokes someone in the eye, so if a player, and look at the referee, has been removed, the VAR official. So if someone pokes a player in the eye, would the goal that ensues from that stand? And you say it was a mistake? How do you define mistake in this instance? I called it. Call me a prophet. They are setting dangerous precedents, and someone is going to get injured. Someone is going to get really injured, for sure. Chalobah got stamped on, and what we're getting is an 18-year-old kid, scored a goal. Oh, it's his first goal, or so what? So what? This is the real world. You shouldn't be able to benefit from an evil thing, for something bad has happened. He stepped on his ankle. The only reason we are not saying red card is because he didn't do it intentionally. That's why it's not a red card. And when we talk about intent, because there's no obvious sign to prove that he wanted to violently stamp on Chalobah's feet. Like what Nicolas Jackson did in the Newcastle game, forearm in Newcastle United player's face, boom, clear as day. You can call it violent conduct, reckless endangerment, whatever, red card, boom. But this one, he stepped on his ankles. This is crazy. This is crazy, crazy, crazy to me. If I was Chelsea, I would protest this, right? I would protest it because what leg are you standing on to say it was wrong? What leg are you standing on to say it was wrong? I need someone to come up and tell me. I need someone to come up and give a legitimate reason, a clear, coherent reason as to why that is wrong, why the decision was wrong. Stamping on someone's ankles. Now what we're talking about is if that happens in the 18-yard box, a defender, attempting that exact same skill, stomps on an attacker's foot, would that not be a penalty? English football is actually gone to the mud, absolute mud, right? Absolute mud. You're coming up to apologize for the one thing that VAR has got right in a long time. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. This is, in the words of, I'm not gonna say it, but this has gone wrong. This is just crazy. I called it as the PGMOL will come to apologize. Now, this just tells you that the PGMOL don't really apologize because they feel what they've done is wrong. They apologize because they've gotten backlash, they've gotten vitriol and all that. This is madness. Absolute madness, guys. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on this. Thanks for watching this video with me and being on the channel all through. And continuing to support this channel. It's been big help to me, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And I'll see you on yet another video. Hopefully, a reaction to the game in Liverpool versus Arsenal game. And I'll see you on yet another video. You have a fantastic rest of your Sunday. Stay well and stay blessed. A fantastic, fantastic rest of your day.